Good morning. It is Friday, and that means it is time for the Friday Grief Chat. And it's normally Jill and Deb. I've not heard from Deb today. I am assuming that there is an issue somewhere in Illinois with reaching the internet, but I am glad you're here. If you're listening to this afterward, we welcome you. We do have our grief chat on the internet on a podcast platform, and that is available. And you can find those links at www.facebook.com/Friday Grief Chat. All the links are there. Deb is here. She's just slid in and she's all set and in front of the end. And it's Friday.
Hey, it's Friday. Oh, yes. See? Is that Doug? Doug's saying it's Friday.
Doug wouldn't be saying Friday. We lost Doug in June, but it is Fred and Kaiten and Buddy the Mutt. They're all just can't stand themselves. It's Friday and they want to be out jumping at everyone.
I totally get it.
You're right. We've had lots of activity in the backyard this week, so they are all ears and all barks.
That's right. You have a new house.
Going in. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, we're building an ADU in our backyard, and we are in the home stretch of doing, oh my gosh, the electrical, the plumbing, the sewing, and all the stuff. We have to take down a palm tree. I've cut down a bunch of cacti, but we are going to have a house built within the next month.
That's amazing. And that's also beautiful. And it's also a little odd, don't you think? Having now more family members. You have a little compound there, actually.
We are going to have a compound. We have a patio on one side where we normally spend our mornings and evenings, and then on the other side of the house will be Carrie in her house, and she'll have her own patio. Yeah, and the doodle bugs are going to be so excited because they can go back and forth.
That's right. That's right.
And they adore their Tia Carrie. So yeah.
I think that's pretty cool when people you want to live around actually have their own space, and then you can share space. I like that a lot. Not everybody does, though. Sometimes they go along with it and then they complain about it later. And, but for me, I like that feeling. That's why we love our neighbors.
Yeah, and we're handpicking neighbors now because with my mom's death, as everyone knows, death changes lots of things, and part of what it's changed is living arrangements. So we're putting in the ADU, and then one of my best girlfriends is buying my mom's house. So we really are building a compound around us.
You are.
So yeah, we're making the best of a very tough loss.
Yes. Well, that is really, really cool. I didn't remember your best friend buying the house. You might have told me, and
it's kind of a cool way to do things, don't you think?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. If we moved, I'd want to take our neighbors. In fact, I know we're a show about loss and grief, and I was telling her some of the things that have been going on in Daryl's mind and stuff. She goes, "No, I don't want to lose you." I'm like, there's a couple things I could do. We'd have to put the money into it, that we could live here longer. And I'm going to talk to Daryl about that. That might be a reasonable thing to do.
What my parents did is my dad had losses with his abilities. They were able to remove all the barriers to the house and ramp literally every exterior access. And then they put walking paths that were rolling paths in the backyard, and they made the bathrooms more accessible and widened all the doorways. And so they both got to stay home all the way through the end of life.
Yeah, that very well may be happening. But it's still good to get rid of stuff.
Oh, right? Stuff needs to go. Yes, I shipped 5 boxes out yesterday. I took 3 bags back down to Project Food, which is our local food and healthcare program that I attend every week, and stuff goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sort of my rule. If I buy clothes, I have to get rid of clothes.
I think I'm at a 1 for 10 now.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
Even like the socks that I never wear, they went like stuff you sort of keep around.
Yeah.
It's just, and with my mom's things, it's the things that really matter, but not everything.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Oh.
There's also a little tiny part of me that when my nephews or my sisters say they want this item and this item, then I decide, well, then you get this item and this item as bonuses.
Exactly.
Because they matter enough to me that I can't get rid of them, but I can't take them. So you can't defend yourself from a box in the mail.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. My uncle, I call him my uncle, and he was my dad's best friend. And he was in the movie industry, right? In movie and TV show industry. And so he worked with Michael Landon, and I forget the other guy's name, on a TV show some of our viewers might know called Highway to Heaven.
Yes.
And I loved that show. Well, when Uncle Irwin died, I got both his jackets from Highway to Heaven.
Very cool.
And my daughter walked out with them yesterday. And I said, she goes, I promise not to give these away, but these are really cool jackets. And she said, you told me a long time ago I could have them. Yeah, but I wasn't willing to give them up quite yesterday. But I did. And I said, really, Deb, do you need them? No.
They're just sitting there, right?
Just sitting there. And, with every thing that goes away that I didn't think about letting go of ahead of time or really giving away yet, there's a little tug inside that just, it's a good thing, right? And yet there's a little tug of something else. And, sometimes it's these little tugs that remind you of losses, right?
And keep you present with the loss, but also help you learn to manage it.
Absolutely. It's those little tugs, those little moments,
We're about to have one next door because I'm arranging for my mom's piano to go to my daughter. And that was literally, some people say the kitchen is the heart of the home. Yeah. Not in our houses. Because we cook, but we don't cook. Right? Except for the holidays, not so much. The piano was the heart of that house. And it's going to go down to my daughter's home for my grandchildren to use. And that's going to be the thing. And then her bedroom set, which isn't a lifetime bedroom set, but it's the last one she had. That's going to also go down. So that bedroom will be empty. And then that's going to be hard. Okay. It is time, and she's not here, and it doesn't represent her, and we need to move into where we're going. And she does go with us. She does sit right next to me on my desk.
Yes.
But I don't need to have all the things, and we don't need a bedroom full of furniture that no one's going to use.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It's that adapting and making use of and making do with and putting it all into perspective.
After my mother died, I bought myself a piece of jewelry that I could hear my mother say, or imagine. No, it felt like I heard her say, buy it. What is wrong with you? You have the money now. Do something like this. And
Mhm.
and then when my one of my closest friends was moving away, I wanted her to have that piece of jewelry, you know. And actually, last summer and still this year, I sold the remaining of the jewelry except for her wedding ring, and then I gave that to my daughter.
Mhm.
I said, I want you to have your grandmother's wedding ring. And yeah, that's what I did. And
It's those adaptations that help us move into this new world and
mhm,
see parts of those people that are no longer present physically moving into other people's worlds. My grandson
absolutely.
will be playing that piano, which
That
is
is
exactly what she would have wanted,
so cool.
right?
Very,
And
very
it
cool.
wasn't an expensive piano. We licked all those green stamps to buy that piano.
Mhm.
For
Oh,
those of
that's
you who do
right.
not remember, we used to have these little stamps you'd get when you bought things, and then you had to lick them and put them in these little books about this big, about 6 inches by 5
Exactly.
inches, and you had to make books and books and books of them, and 20 books might get you a new frying pan.
Right. Right.
You have no
Right.
idea how many books it took to get that piano.
Yep. Yep.
Yep, boxes of books.
I am sorry now, but granted it was 1998 where we wound up nobody took green stamps in 1998. So we threw
You
all the
threw
books.
away the green stamps.
I did.
Oh, see, and
And there
that's
were
not, we can't use them now, but
I
it's
know, but
part of
you
childhood for so many
right,
of us, right?
right. Exactly.
Right?
There were even unlicked ones and I go, Bleh. I
That was
remember
horrible.
licking those things. They were horrible. Exactly.
And that brings me to what we posted about for today is when we lose people who we don't know, but they represent parts of our lives, whether it's green stamps or Jimmy Buffett
Perfect.
or whoever it is. We lost Pee Wee Herman. What, about a month ago? There's been a
Oh
lot
yeah.
recently. Those are those things that we can't take the person with us, but we do have to resolve that part of active life is done, but we can still enjoy the parts of them that are still here and celebrate that we had that connection. And how many people we had that connection with that we didn't know.
That we didn't know, my daughter and maybe yours grew up watching Pee Wee Herman, and I just bought Jimmy Buffett's one of his last albums out there and or CDs, and oh man, I
We've
mean,
been listening to his music in the backyard along with several of the others who have recently died,
right.
because they're there with you, and you think, oh, so they're always going to be around, and then you do the math like we just did, and Rod Stewart's like 81 and Cher is 79, and like and we're not all guaranteed long lives. We know that, right? There are people that are going to be younger, so we really need to make space for those folks, and also acknowledge that we have a public loss, even though it's not somebody we know. It impacts us, and it may
Mhm,
bring back feelings of loss for those who've had a recent or a long ago loss. It
mhm.
might be that they watched Michael Landon with their mom or their grandma, and now us bringing that up today is going to cause them to miss those little house on the prairie moments.
Little House on the Prairie.
Right.
Oh
And
my
it's,
gosh.
and all of a sudden that's just like an extra little tug and an extra little, okay, now I'm connecting that loss to grandma's loss, to childhood loss, to friends I used to talk about, but they've now moved away. All the onion skins start peeling away and they're
Mhm.
connected through loss.
Absolutely. And much like so Uncle Irwin used to tell me stories about Michael Landon and his co-star. Like I said, right off the top of
Mhm.
my head, I can't remember, but they were real pranksters. And he would tell me stories. Oh, they did this and this was pretty funny. Not everybody thought it was funny. They were like crude little boys, and that would be this crude little girl, sixth grade, potty humor, that kind of stuff, noises. What did George Carlin call it? Bilabial fricative. And, and tell stories. And likewise, like with Pee Wee Herman, I never met him, but I followed Paul Rubin through a lot of stuff, and I loved what his friends say about him, you know.
Mhm.
And um, one of our congregants who was very funny and played the piano just beautifully, like he could just start playing and then he'd morph into another major well-known song and keep playing and morph back into what he was originally playing. And he's on hospice. And oh, that was Victor French. Thank you, Stephen. And you know I reached out to his son who was posting these things to let us know what's going on. And of course I will help with the service. We may even have it at our Unity Church. And I'll tell you that I started pre-grieving and going down that memory lane, and the individual stories I can tell about different people and what I saw from being up front than I did, just sitting in the congregation. And those sort of like those little losses, those little memories
Right.
that just go down those sulcus paths in your brain,
And
right?
grab you.
And grab you.
And it's normal and it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you got to find the people who like hearing stories and tell them.
And then you tell news stories, things they never heard. Like
Right.
it was, when Uncle Irwin died, and he died on a Sunday morning. So I had already had his jacket. So I set his jacket up by the front. I was speaking and by the front of the church. And I had some items that I had that was his. And so I set up a little memorial, and I didn't want to tell people at the beginning. So I told
Right.
them toward the end, you wonder what this is? Highway to Heaven. I haven't heard of that in a long time. So, those
Right.
kinds of things. And, even as I'm telling you, I'm remembering these things. So, yeah.
Right. And as you're talking about setting that up, I'm thinking we're coming up to October. And in October, um, the traditions here in California are to create a table where people can share memories of loved ones who've died as we come up to October 31st. And also
Mhm.
November 1st, depending on if you celebrate Dios de los Muertos or you celebrate All Souls Day or All Saints Day. And even in our office, we do that now. We have a table set up with the marigolds and
Mhm.
the memories, and people bring in pictures. And we have to be really clear. You can bring a picture of people who died long ago or this year. It can be
Mhm.
pets. It can be any loss. It can be any place. It can be whatever that is. Right?
Yes. And that gives me a good idea what to do for October. October 4th, I think, is St. Francis of Assisi Day, but it's in the middle of the week. So October 1st, whatever that Sunday is at 3:00, for 6 years, maybe, I don't know, have that be pet blessing and pet memorial. And I encourage people on Facebook that have pet loss, send me their name. Let me read their name when we do the memorial. And people have been bringing everything from collars to cremains to pictures to words to whatever. I just love doing both a blessing there with live pets and doing a memorial with memories of pets.
And it lets people hear their pets' names again and connect with other people who've experienced that kind of loss.
Right. That's
and
right.
then they can share those memories as often as they want and know there are other people who will share right back.
That's right. That's right.
Not that I'm known for pulling up old Facebook memories and posting pictures of lost pets almost every single day, right? Because we've lost so many of them and they all mattered.
Yeah, that's
and it's
right.
not sadness, it's just the joy of who they were.
That's right. Absolutely. Right? Yeah.
And that's the point of being able to talk about grief. And that's the point of being able to talk about people who are on the center stage who've been lost, or people who've been center stage in our lives, being able to talk about them and share what mattered about them and share the common connections we have.
Someone wrote me recently, I didn't send a card. I didn't do anything. It was a year ago. What can I say to them? I go,
you can say that
you can say to anybody, no matter how long, I remember that, and you use their name. Use their name and say, I was thinking about them. I know this was a time of loss for you. And you know what? People don't always know what's going on in your life. You don't know what's going on in everybody else's. So the fact that they reached out a year ago or not,
the fact that they're reaching out and saying the name.
Yeah.
That's, say thank you and be gracious that it mattered enough to them to reach out now.
Right. Yeah, it was. I
have a friend whose mom would not allow anyone to say publicly that a loved one had died for a year.
Oh.
Now, some of us, and even to the closest friends, and some of us kind of figured it out because there was no discussion and there had been illness, but
do you know why?
It wasn't allowed to be said. It was partly cultural and partly a need to keep the most intense grief private, very, very private, which was also cultural.
Interesting. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
And so yet, we talk about that loss, but it's from a perspective of years ago now.
When in Jewish culture or parts of Jewish culture, lots of times you bury them, and then I believe it's 11 months and a day.
You lay the headstone.
Yeah. And the more intense parts are those 11 months. So, yeah. It sort of like leads me to one thing. What Jews wear when someone dies is
the tearing of the garment.
The tearing of the garment. So they usually wear somewhere every day for, I think, 30 days. I think that's what it is. A black button with some black material that's either been cut or torn. And it comes from a Bible verse, and they rent their garments.
Yes.
one died. What other cultures wear something that signifies they are in mourning?
A lot of general cultures just move into somber colors for a certain amount of time. We saw that with the royal family. Somber colors for a time, not going out in public, not engaging in activities, not whatever. There used to be, in Victorian times, there was mourning jewelry, which would have the hair or something related to the person who died, and you'd wear that for a year. There were also mourning wreaths on the doors.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So you'd make wreaths out of black fabric, and those would go on the public facing doors.
Do you know, a friend of mine did not, when his dad died, no, when his sister died, I think, did not, he did not shave for a year. And that, I think, is a Jewish thing also. People don't cut their hair, or they grow beards or something like that for a year.
Yeah, it's important to be able to have the loss recognized, which is, and if you're a public figure like Jimmy, you get parades in Key West. And if you're not a public figure, your family finds ways to make it clear that they've lost you in whatever way they can.
I wonder, because when we went to Key West many moons ago, we went to where Jimmy Buffett's studio is down there. And I'm just wondering how many people put one shaker of salt.
A lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen the pictures around there, but I bet they have.
And it's not just him. He just happens to be someone that I like to listen to, and it's Friday. So I was very likely to listen to some of his music on a Friday anyway. So it keys right into me. But there's lots of public figures that we have lost recently, and there's lots of private figures too. It's the being able to bring them forward and share it and talk about it. And the commonalities. Our former next door neighbor, who is at our house frequently, because we keep you and I, we keep our neighbors close, do we not? Yeah. And so one of the things we connect with is everybody's lost moms. And so we talk about the mom losses and the dad losses amongst ourselves now.
Do you know, for a while, I didn't do it a lot, but several of my friends their moms had died. So we had Divas Without Mothers for Mother's Day. Yeah, that's what we did. Divas Without Moms. And you sort of just took a day like that. And then,
so we've got holidays coming. It's September, folks.
It is.
That puts us in it. We're very close to the High Holy Days for those of the Jewish faith.
Rosh Hashanah coming up, and Yom Kippur this month. That's right.
We're closing in on Halloween, which has become a very big, it's not a holiday, but it's a very big day across much of the United States, and if not other parts of the world. Yeah. And then right after that, we fall into all the Thanksgivings across the world. And then we've got Christmas and Hanukkah and Eid. It's all just going.
I sent my neighbor, this was a couple weeks ago, 52 days till Christmas or something like that. And she's like, no. And I go, yes. So,
have you done your shopping or your arts yet? Right? Have you planned your baking?
Well, I think I told you. I might not have told everybody on here, but one of the things, I don't really have a bucket list. I told you a boutique list I want to wear, things I want to wear before I die. So I will get to wear a heavier coat because I will be in New York City.
Yes, you will. You get to see
Thanksgiving Day parade.
Yay! Any of our listeners in New York, reach out to Deb. She'll be in your neighborhood.
I will. I will. I'm so excited. And we're staying in a brand new hotel actually in Hell's Kitchen.
Nice.
And then we're going to be eating, I guess, on the second floor. I get to look at all the balloons from a different perspective and everything from a different perspective. It's totally something I've dreamt
So
about.
exciting. I'm so glad for you.
Yeah, yeah. That's where I will be Thanksgiving week.
Stacy really liked New York when she was there in 2020, but because she was there with the national disaster team during COVID. But then the people started coming back, and she was like, "Yeah, now I'm not so fond of this place. It's peoply. I need to go."
You know, you don't live in a huge college town, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you know
We
when
have
the students,
27,000 students at UC Riverside, and 15,000 at Cal Baptist, and another 5,000 at La Sierra, and
yeah.
about 25,000 at Loma Linda.
So when the students leave for the summer, all of us go, and now the
Right?
students are back. No offense to students, because I was a student there for 5 years, and it is so different. And you have to really plan when there's like home games, where are you going to go to eat way ahead of time, and what are you going to do this?
Right?
Yes.
Steve says he can see Deb running down to help pull one of the balloons. I think she'd get pulled up.
Like, Alan Klein, whom we've had on this show before, Alan, he had a dream and he always wanted to be on a float or something like that. So a friend of ours got him that dream and it was very cool.
That's
he got
awesome.
to do that. Yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty
out here. It's the Rose Parade attendance.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But once you've done that once, you don't need to get up at 4 a.m. to go freeze on a stand to watch or to stay overnight on the street with a bunch of drunken revelers no.
Right.
Once is enough in one lifetime.
Yeah. That's all I need. And I don't even have to do,
and you get a hotel.
I will be in a hotel. Yes. And if anybody thinks I'll be drinking mimosas, you are wrong. I don't like them. I don't like anything with champagne. So I'm just not that type of girl.
A Bloody Mary might be in order.
That at least has vegetable juice.
Or at least a coffee, because it'll be early.
Oh, yeah. Well, that goes without saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we will be back next week. We will be preparing Deb for her trip and adventure to New York. So send any ideas. I will be posting some things on the Future Proofing Health Professional Symposium that I'm part of. It's 1 hour a day for 2 weeks, plus cafe time to chat with presenters. And I get to facilitate a section with folks who are world leaders in working with people who are in the aging population, and to talk about dementia and the impact and how to incorporate those folks into the work that we all do. So if you are healthcare in any way, please look here. We'll get you that information. All right. And otherwise, we'll be back here on Friday next week, 10 o'clock Pacific time, and across the world, wherever you are.
Wherever you are. Hey, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.